In my hand, I'm holding the 6K Blackmagic Pro Cinema camera, and on it, I have one of Canon's worst lenses, the 75-300. And you're probably wondering, why are these two things paired together and how does it look? And it actually doesn't look too bad. And I'm going to talk about my experience shooting with this. As everyone knows, if you work with cameras, camera body is really important, but lens is probably the most important thing. If you have pretty bad glass, it doesn't matter what camera you use, it will turn out bad. But I can say confidently with this, it hasn't turned out too bad. This isn't the first time that I've used a Blackmagic camera with one of these lenses. I usually pair this up with the 16-55 on top of the 17-300. In high school, we had Ursas, and I would shoot all of my stuff with that before we got cinema lenses. It had some drawbacks, but it also came with a lot of good. With Blackmagic not having any internal stabilization, it becomes painfully obvious just based on how light the lens is. I'm a big believer in the heavier the rig is, the easier it is to stabilize. And when it's lighter, it's easier for a camera to pick up any slight shakes or jitters. And despite how heavy this camera or even the Ursa is, with how light the lenses are, it becomes painfully obvious how bad the internal stabilization is or the lack of. But regardless, I still think it produces pretty good colors. Obviously, there's the thing of, not having a good f-stop. And I have shot with a cinema lens before on top of the Ursa. And the difference is definitely there. You can tell that there's a different sharpness that the cinema lenses have that the 75-300 or the 16-55 just don't have. But for the lenses being so quote unquote bad or soft, it really performs a lot better than you would think it would. I'm going to put up some footage that I shot with the Ursa that I shot with the 16-55 and 75-300. And then I'm going to put up some footage that I shot with the 70-200 cinema lens. And I want you to tell me if you can really tell the difference. There's definitely a difference. The focus is a lot softer and not as sharp as the cinema lens. But overall, the final product really isn't that bad. Now, outside of sports, I really haven't had a chance to film anything with the Blackmagic. If there's anything you take away from this video, yes, the glass matters, but it's more about who's the shooter behind it. If your body is a 3K cinema camera, you could probably get away with any lens. And obviously, I'm just kidding. The lens is just as important as the body is as important as the glass. But if you do have a Blackmagic, this is just proof that you can work with whatever you have. Both the lens and the body are important, but if you don't have the money for a lens, don't rush to do it. Buy an adapter and just use your cheap lens. Yes, you may have a softer focus. Yes, the colors won't be as sharp, but you can still make good stuff at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. I'm not really sure what the point of this video was, but that is my review of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K with one of Canon's worst lenses, the 75-300, the forbidden lens. Some people say it's a terrible lens. One of the worst, they say. One of the worst we've ever seen. They say it's a great lens. It's a great lens, they say. Some of the best lenses you'll ever see. And the Blackmagic, it's one of the best cameras you'll ever use.